Look at Ezekiel 28 for a moment. He's speaking to the king of Tyre, but many people believe that this message is actually directed at Satan. Look at verse 12, Son of Man. And this is one of the names that the Lord refers to Ezekiel as the Son of Man. Of course, Jesus would refer to himself as the Son of Man. But Ezekiel 28, verse 12 says, Son of man, take up a lamentation for the king of Tyre, and say to him, Thus says the Lord God, You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God, and every precious stone was your covering. And then he goes through the stones. Now, could the king of Tyre, who is an actual man, was he actually in the Garden of Eden? So it's like God is speaking to the king of Tyre, but he's talking past him to the force, maybe that's empowering the king, who is the devil himself. Because Satan was in the garden, or Lucifer was in the garden, right? Verse 14, you were the anointed cherub who covers. So if the cherubim are mentioned in Ezekiel 1, and then again in Ezekiel 10, here in chapter 28, Lucifer is identified as originally being a cherub or a cherubim angel. Cherubim would be plural. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 14. I didn't cover this when we looked at Isaiah, but while we're on this topic, because one of the common questions people have is, if God is God and God knows all things, why did God create the devil, right? This is kind of one of the basic questions. And of course, God did not create the devil. God created the holy angels, the cherubim and seraphim and the archangels. So Lucifer was a cherub angel, and he fell. So when God created him, he was not the devil. Look at Isaiah 14. And this is how I remember it. Isaiah comes before Ezekiel, so it's Isaiah 14. 14 plus 14 equals 28. And the other passage is Ezekiel 28. I don't know if that's helpful, but Isaiah 14, starting in verse 12, How you have fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, and how you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations, for you have said in your heart, and then he gives those I will statements. I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. And of course, that's what the devil wanted to do, right? He wanted to be God. He wanted to be like God. And that's his temptation to Eve, that if you eat the fruit, you yourself will be like God. So that's Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28, most likely in both passages referring to Satan. Although if you have one of the modern, depending on the translation you use, some of you don't have Lucifer in Isaiah 14, do you? You have what? What? Son of the morning or day star, I think is what is translated. But it's my position both are referring to Satan, whose original name was Lucifer.